All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome, welcome, and welcome. So, as you can see, I'm doing totally new today. I have a group of women that are joining me. So, if you didn't know, yes, I'm working on an anthology, and this is part of the small group of 20 women. So, this is the first step. Each Thursday in the month of October, I am going to be interviewing a group of the contributing co-authors for the anthology. And so the anthology is entitled Shut 'Em Down: Black Women, Racism, and Corporate America. So if you have ever worked in corporate America, then and you're a Black woman, then you know we have had our fair share of issues going in and dealing with different personalities, different situations. Even if you watched the VP on last night, the VP debate, and you saw how Kamala was treated, that's just a small glimpse into what happens with us as Black women in corporate America. So I'm not going to take up too much of the time tonight. I am actually going to let these ladies introduce themselves. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with Stacy. So Stacy, tell everybody out there on LinkedIn and Twitter who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Stacy Calhoun. I live in Alabama. I'm married. I have 2 children. I'm an entrepreneur, a brand new business owner. Just opened up an event center here, and I'm excited about this book venture that I've been on with these ladies. This has been exciting, learning so much from Dr. Carey Yazeed. She's awesome, and I'm just excited about being a part of this great experiment with these ladies.
Thank you, Stacy.
You're
Denisha.
welcome.
Hi, everyone. I am Denisha Allen. I'm based out of Denver, Colorado. I, too, am a wife, a mother of 2. I'm a small business owner. I work in the world of IT, have been for the last 20 years. And I'm also so excited about being able to put my voice out there and let other women like us know that they're not alone and that we won't stand for it anymore.
All right. And Dr. Tara.
Hello, everyone. And I have to give it back to you, Dr. Carey. Thank you for this vision and for the opportunity to be a part of this project. As she stated, my name is Dr. Tara Hines McCoy. I'm a mother of a fantastic daughter. I live currently in McKinney, Texas. I'm a native of Little Rock, Arkansas. I've been an HR leader for 15 plus years, and I'm excited to jump in with these ladies.
All right. And last but not least, we have Miss Emily.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Edwards, and I am the founder of Emily's Foods. And I created a plant-based product that has pea protein powder in it. And I am just beyond excited to be a part of this anthology. And I just can't say thank you enough to Dr. Carey. It has been an amazing experience, and I've met some amazing, talented women during this journey.
All right. Well, welcome, ladies. So we do have people who are loading in on our comments. I don't know if you ladies can actually see the comments as well. Can you?
I can't.
I can't. No.
You can? Okay.
Oh, I can. Yeah, I can.
Okay. All right. So let's see. We have Lynn Smith. And Lynn is from Louisiana. We have Troy Bell. He says, hello, family. All right, we have Dr. Sanders. She says, hello, all. So, all right. So, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, ladies, our first question is, how can we strategically check underhanded racial biases in the workplace without the fear of retaliation? So, who wants to tackle that one first? Oh, don't be scared now. How can we strategically check underhanded racial biases in the workplace without the fear of retaliation? Now, I will say this. That does become a big concern when you are a African-American woman, a Black woman in corporate America. And you know, we on here is underhanded racial biases, but we also know this as those microaggressions that you get in the workplace. And so there is the, do I say something, or do I make the faces that Kamala made last night?
That part.
So like, so which one are you? Are you gonna be the sister that actually says something, or are you sitting at, you know, in the boardroom and you got the million faces that's going on, but you're holding your peace because you didn't want to be caught up in that crossfire?
You know what, Dr. Carey, for me, they should go on.
No, go ahead.
Okay. You know, for me, I've been both because it's written all over my face. But at the same time, I'm quick to make the statement so that I want them to be clear that their behavior needs to change. And it, you know, whether they say something, whether it's in a group or if it's one-on-one, you know, I've been in those situations where I've said, you know, who exactly are you talking to? Or, you know, what specific group are you insinuating? So that they understand that that's not okay. And what you're saying, I need for you to think differently.
Okay. That sounds like you were very direct. You were very clear. So now let me ask you this: Did anyone feel that you were coming across as the angry Black woman when you said it the way that you did? I don't take that as being angry. I take that as just being, let's get some things straight.
You know what? There are plenty of things that can be said that could be perceived as the angry Black woman, but that's not the case. It's a matter of making it clear that, you know, if that was the case, you offended me, and or your approach is inappropriate, or the words that you're using are inappropriate. And so, no, I don't think that it came off as the angry Black woman, but there are plenty of things that we say that can be perceived that way.
Exactly. So Denisha, you were gonna say something. What is your take on this question?
Yeah, so I think after having a career in 20 years, I've learned that when they play checkers, we play chess. Sadly enough, you know, I have a family I have to provide for, I have to take care of myself, but most importantly, I have to pave a way in a very white male dominated industry for other women that look like me to have an opportunity to change the narrative. So, you know, to Dr. Tower's point, you have to be very direct, but at the same time, dictate, take notes, document out like crazy every instance of things when they happen. I know it probably seems a bit petty, but at the end of the day, if you ever have to raise this concern, you need to have proof. The proof is always going to be in the pudding. I also think too that we have to be very careful of certain adjectives and words that we choose to use, because while we say anger, another woman would be called passionate. So, you know, we have to be very mindful of how we address these situations. You can still bring that, you know, bring that smoke. Kamala brought the smoke last night.
Yes, she did.
You know, but you just have to be very strategic and methodical in how you respond to these instances.
I would like to add to what Denisha just said. Yeah, you're so correct about passion for some, anger for others. It was just a situation that I encountered a couple of weeks ago where I was expressing pure passion, but I was told that I was negative because of my tone. So the way that I addressed that underhanded bias, I said, well, let me change my tone to be in agreement with your tone so that my statements won't be misunderstood. And when I said that, the whole conversation reversed to, I just want us to be a team. I just want us to get along. It's crazy that we have to do that.
It is.
And my feedback on that part, my question is always, what is an angry Black woman? I hear this all the time, but you know, a former social worker and a researcher, in my mind, what is an angry Black woman? If I'm having a conversation with you and I get excited about something, does that make me angry? Maybe that's just that emotion that I'm feeling about that particular topic. But does that make me an angry Black woman? So I'm still waiting for a very definitive, because we didn't give ourselves that definition.
This
So I'm
is
still
true.
waiting for a very definitive definition of what is the angry Black woman.
This is true. Well, I don't think they really want to see the true angry Black woman. I don't think they're ready for her.
But you know what? I will say this. We also have to be careful not to let other people's boxes dehumanize us. We're
Wow.
people. We have every opportunity to feel a range of emotions from anger to gladness to joy to sadness. And we have to stop as Black women allowing people to dictate to us how we get to express how we feel in the moments that we feel them. We have to take that power back.
I agree. This and we do have to start being, and I think that's only going to happen if we speak up more. And I think for so long, it goes back to that fear of retaliation. So you didn't say anything because you didn't know what the consequences were going to be or what the repercussions were going to be. And so, and I know in my 23 years of working in corporate America, that was one of the things. It was just like, I would say I have 2 kids at home. I'm a single parent. This might not turn out that great, even if I go in with a gentle tone and say what it is that I need to say. So I just won't say anything at all. Now, the flip side to that is I usually dust it off my resume and was like, it's time to find another job. Like, it's time to move around. It's not going to be comfortable here anymore. So let's see. We got some comments, guys. Yes, they're saying absolutely not. Let's see. For Black women, it's anger, and for Latinos, they said it's crazy and spicy. Or they're and for white women, they're called Karens. So okay, so yes, we got some different things going on. Someone said documentation. Yes, I know all about the documentation. Come out with all your paperwork. So, and Joanne said, yes, stop allowing others to dictate how we should feel, respond, and react. All right. So let's go ahead. We're going to switch on over to our second question. Are algorithms biased, and can they be programmed to exclude racial biases? So, we've seen how, and I'm really starting to learn that a lot of people don't realize that algorithms, those things that we talk about when it comes to social media, that they're not just social media, that they run in a lot of different programs, even programs that we use at our jobs. And we also have to be mindful that usually those people who are developing algorithms don't look like us. So who would like to address this one?
Algorithms are biased. Yes, definitely they are biased. And can they be programmed to exclude racial biases? Absolutely. Because here's a question. When you take a test, if you're a nurse or if you're a social worker or a doctor, one of the questions that's on there when you fill out your application is, what is your race? Well, why does that matter? What matters is that I'm capable, I passed the test. The test says that I'm capable of practicing in this profession. So when you see those kind of things in the tester program, there you got to test for this set of people and you got to test for this set of people. Even when you look at the medical field and you look at studies and stuff that they do, you'll see that oftentimes that the treatment that one race gets or one group from a socioeconomic status gets is totally different from the other. So there are biases there, but they're so subtle sometimes we don't think about them. And like Dr. Carey was saying, even on social media, you keep hearing this about algorithms. The algorithms wouldn't push my stuff through. Well, this is how you override it. Well, what's so important about algorithms? They're good to a certain extent. Particularly for myself, for someone like that, I have a food product. So when I want to check to see what other categories are doing, they're fine because that's based on algorithms and research. But when it comes to, what color am I determining should I get this medication and should I be in this group or where should I be? Then they become biased because that excludes me from getting the best care that I could have gotten.
Okay. How do you think, like when we talk about algorithms in regards to like our jobs? So I know like what you're saying, and this is true, like when it comes to like testing, and those algorithms can, you could go in and be the smartest Black person, but because you put Black, you find yourself struggling on a test that you're like, I prepared for this. I don't understand why I keep failing, like what's going on. And so in those instances, algorithms can be really bad. What about like in our job situations where we might not realize algorithms are lurking in the background?
Are you asking me?
Hmm?
In our job situation, Dr. Carey, I mean, when you think about it, like, say a name like Emily. So you don't know if I'm a Black woman or a white woman. You know, Emily is dead in the middle. But if I put on there, like my middle name is Denisha. If I put that on there, what does that tell you on my resume?
How you think I feel? I've been Denisha my whole life. I've been doing it until this year.
Even just looking at the resume, so now you know you got to do your resume and stuff online. So surely it's probably programmed those Shanikas, Denishas, all of that picks it up. And so, but Emily, well, we don't know what exactly Emily is. So when you start to think about those kind of things, and I can remember when I first came out of college that someone said to me that if you put this name on the resume, these are names that when a recruiter or a hiring manager sees this name, they just push it to the side because they already know what you are or who you are.
So and you know what, Emily, that's a great point, even with from further than just the name, but even the school that you attended. Absolutely. So when recruiters are going through this information and they see an HBCU compared to, you know, a private white institution, then that changes, and that's what's going on in the background. I know the ethnicity of this candidate based on the school that they attended.
I think it goes a step further. I think even once you're actually in the workplace, look at your performance ratings. Of course, when you get a performance bonus, they're looking at your ethnicity, they're looking at your age, they're looking at your name and your job title. That curve doesn't exist for no reason. You know, the bell curve in school where everybody used to get a grade, that's how they award performance bonuses. So there's also an algorithm in the background that rewards you based on performance. So we have to be mindful of that as well.
This is true. Yeah. Stacy?
Well, yeah, I'm in agreement with the ladies. Names are a key point that, you know, that they make a decision by. My name is Stacy. A lot of times I Google my name to see what's going to come up. Luckily for me, my maiden name and my married name, both, you Google up, you get about 30 white women before you get to me. So they don't know which Stacy they're getting. So so that's always been my amazing grace with my name. So I'm lucky to have this name.
Look, well, hey, I did pretty good until my second marriage, and then my last name changed to Yazeed. So usually they're not expecting a Black woman, and I usually see it when I would go in for interviews. And so I think the last interview I hadn't interviewed in a long time. And so when I went into this interview and they were like, can we help you? And I said, well, I'm here for the interview. And like, she got pale. And I said, oh, she thought I was a foreigner. Okay. Like that I was going to be a Black woman. And so the whole, like the conversations that we had on the phone, she was nice and pleasant. When I got there, her whole demeanor changed once she realized that I was not from the Middle East, I was not Muslim, that I was a Black woman from South Louisiana with natural hair. Like it, so I could just tell from her demeanor that, and I don't know if the algorithms kicked my stuff in front of her because she was really looking like, how did this happen? So, I agree. I do think algorithms work against us in a lot of different ways. And so we have to start being mindful of that, hey, we probably need more people in tech, and we need more of us out there developing these algorithms so that they won't be biased as we go into the future. So anybody got kids that code, y'all need to tell them that.
Yeah.
And Dr. Carey,
the resume
on that, when you talk about algorithms, the talk now is about they're needing volunteers for the study for these new medicines that are coming out. So when you look at that, a lot of times when medication is on the market and they give it to us, it's not always as effective on us, because I do agree that it should be more of us that participate in those studies for new medications when they come out. But because of the distrust that we have and their inability, well, not their inability, but their unwillingness to always be truthful about what to expect and the side effects, then you don't get us to volunteer as much or as often as I think we should, because I think it's important. We do need to know how medications work on us, but we don't always do that because you can't get us to say, I'm going to go volunteer. The Tuskegee study goes back for a lot of us. And, even when you go to the doctor or to the hospital, a lot of times your experience that you have there can also, be a deterrent for you not to want to be a volunteer for something.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, again, going back to your medical settings, a lot of those things everything is computerized these days. And so computers are programmed. Who are your programmers? And where are those computers being placed? Stacy, I think you were about to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say, even with resumes, the algorithm with resumes, how now you have to kind of change up your wording to match what they're looking for in order for your resume to even be considered. And like Dr. Tara said, once they get your resume and then they, scan it a little deeper and see that you went to an HBCU, that elimination process begins at that point before you're even given a fair chance to represent yourself.
This is true. Yeah. So, I think when we look at algorithms and what they were designed to do, I don't think that companies sometimes take into consideration that they limit their pool of available people because you're singling out some great people based on factors of, was it a Black school that they attended? Do they have a Black name? And other things that you're using to try and determine what is the race of that person.
Zip code. I don't think people think about that either. Last time I think I applied for a job, I removed my address, because you can easily Google a person's zip code and decide, oh, that's the wrong side of town. We don't want that candidate. So we have to be very cognizant of that as well.
This is true. It's unfortunate that we have to go through all of that in 2020 just to apply for a job or to receive medical care. Like, it sounds like we were really jumping through some hoops just to survive. All right, so let's move on to our next question. And how has silent racism or judgment paralyzed your voice and efforts in the workplace? Ooh, this is a good one. So who wants to tackle this one?
I'll start. So sometimes racism can be very subtle and you don't see it coming. They don't even realize that they're being being racist or distributing any type of behavior that's unpleasant to you. It's just their natural being. So their judgment against you sometimes comes from their own moral values, right? But that within itself can silence you. It can paralyze you almost to the point where you don't want to engage in projects. You don't want to speak out in a meeting because you're afraid that what you're saying is going to be dismissed. And so I think sometimes we have to do so much of thinking about what we're going to say and how we're going to say it that it excuses their behavior of just being outwardly, making you uncomfortable with their outward disbursements, you know.
I agree. I definitely agree. Any of the other ladies? Okay, because
I'll say I don't think it's paralyzed my voice. If anything, it's just made me pivot. It's made me reassess how I'm going to address it, because the last thing I'm going to do is let it slide. Anyone that knows me, I'm known for not following rules and being a troublemaker. As they say, good trouble. But
A good
it's
trouble.
something that we can't let it paralyze us. We can't let it silence us anymore. If we didn't have people fighting for our rights even before the civil rights era, we wouldn't even be able to have this conversation today. So we have to carry the torch forward, and we can't allow it to silence us. You have to check those microaggressions. You have to be willing to sometimes take the L for the team, because the cause is so much bigger than one single person. Racism is a very deeply rooted, ugly, ugly issue here in this country. We deal with it globally, but since we're here in America, we have to deal with what we have going on in our own backyard. So, if anything, let that fuel your fire to speak up. Maybe not in the moment. Maybe cooler heads will prevail, and you'll be able to, again, strategically choose the right words to address it every time. Check it.
I agree. I agree. And I know when we also talk about silencing your voice or paralyzing your voice, what I've seen happen is relative to the workplace, but I've seen where people are scared to post on social media because of what someone from the job is going to say. And I know, like, I've had that happen.
Correct.
I had posted something on my private Facebook page, and I was not following any of my coworkers. And I came to work the next day and had received an email from my dean telling me that I needed to delete my account, because it had been brought to his attention that I had made some comments that he felt were detrimental to the department. And so I was just like, thinking, like, on my public stuff, I didn't say anything, and I didn't say anything on my private. And so when I asked, I was like, can you tell me exactly what it is you're talking about? Can you show me a screenshot? Can we sit down and have a conversation on what you feel that I said on social media was detrimental? I also went a step further, and I said, can you show me the company's policies or the university's policies on an employee having a social media account, and that you all micromanage what I say on social media on my time? Like, but I've heard people say, and I hear it a lot when it comes to LinkedIn, like, oh, I can't, I wanted to say this, but I'm gonna inbox you, because if I say it out in public, someone from my job might see it, and I don't want to cause any waves. So sometimes I think when we talk about our voices being paralyzed, it's not so much sometimes us at the 9 to 5, but even when we're at home in the comfort of our own home, someone is still watching what we're doing. It's like the big brother. So is it just me, or has anybody else had that happen with social media?
Oh yeah.
I think Dr.
No, and
Carey.
that's a great point, Dr. Carey, because even going through, being a part of this project, many of us had that conversation, and it was real, for the organizations that they work for. We have told our story, but then we are feeling paralyzed or have a lot of anxiety about posting it. And putting it out there that this is real, this is what's going on, this is our stories to tell, and we have the power, or we are empowered to post it wherever we want to post it. And so that's a real feeling, and I think many of us have experienced that, based on the conversations that I've had with this just phenomenal group of women.
Yes, I totally agree. Emily, you were getting ready to say something.
Yeah, I was just sitting here and I was listening to all the ladies, and I totally agree with everything they're saying. But I was sitting here just thinking to myself that former social worker like you, Dr. Carey, but I was thinking to myself, in the game of basketball, when the game changes, they have to change what they're doing. So if one team is losing, then they may need to readjust their defense because something's going wrong. And so our voices should not be silenced, but we have to learn how to advocate for ourselves. And so often, particularly as former social workers, we advocate for that client, we empower that client, but we don't always know how to empower ourselves or to speak up for ourselves. So there is always a way that we can speak up for ourselves and be politically correct, as you would have it. We can speak up and our emotions can still be there, but we can be calm under pressure.
Yes, this is true. This is so true. And you got a lot of people in the comments who are amen you all as well, saying that they have been that they feel like they're being watched on their job because they're Black.
But you know what, Dr. Carey? Ladies, I realized something. I actually invited some of my current colleagues here tonight to watch this. I want to be seen because I want everybody else to know and understand what we're feeling right now in this moment, in this current climate. It's absolutely easy to talk about it in retrospect, but I need them to feel and see and understand the pain that we're going through right now, how we're being expected to show up in our workspaces and be okay that we've seen another Black person be assaulted or killed by the police, or a Black woman shot in her home while she's sleeping. They need to see it in live, in action right now, because there's empathy and proximity. If they see it and they're closer to us, they'll better address it. They'll deal with it better. They can't ignore it. If you just read about it in the paper or the TV, you can turn the TV off and turn your head.
Right.
So I want them to be here.
Right. And I think you make a good point, is that I think we are in a season of change where being silent and being passive are no longer acceptable for us, but it's because we are speaking up and saying this is no longer acceptable. Like we deserve to be heard. We will be heard. As Kamala said last night, I'm speaking. You know, and so when your mama say I'm speaking, that means everybody else needs to be quiet, and I need y'all to listen. You might not agree with me, but at least give me the floor to say what it is that I have to say, and let me express how I'm feeling in this moment, and ask questions if you don't understand before you judge me or you try and put me in this box. And I feel that Black women have been put in boxes since the day we get here. We are put in a box and we are expected to perform a certain way. We're expected to carry burdens, but we're also limited as far as like, we're not supposed to say anything. We're just supposed to bear it all with a smile. And
when was the last time you got a seat at the table and sat there quietly?
Huh?
I said, when was the last time you got a seat at the table and sat there quietly?
Yeah, nobody. That you right. Well, you don't get a seat at the table being quiet. You got to make some noise to get up in there.
And we'll make one while we're there.
You got to bring your own chair.
Right, bring your own folding chair. We know, yes, this is so true. So ladies, we'll go to our last question for the evening, and it says, have you experienced disparate treatment from a fellow Black woman in corporate America? If so, why do you think that is? Ooh. All right. Who wants to go first?
I would definitely jump in. So, great question. Even as I think about where we are today and coming, I'm currently not in corporate America, but as Black women, we've been trying to survive in organizations as a minority from the beginning. And for me, it now adds an additional layer because we're now having to survive against our own people that look like us, other Black women. And I believe that, that mindset, many may say it's competition. However, I think that it's embedded in our segregated mindset, quite honestly, that we segregate our families into these neighborhoods that we think are better than being with our own people, that we put our children in better schools, whether that's private schools, because we think they provide a better education, and in our communities as well. And that segregated mindset spills over into the workplace. And so when I see someone who looks like me, unfortunately, I'm defeated in the beginning, because now it feels like it's a competition. Like I have to, hold this title, hold on to my job, and I can't reach back to help you because we are the same. And in my mind, we should all be winning. We get to these titles, and we with these organizations so that we can make a difference in those coming behind us, not to sit at the table and not have a voice, or to be silent, and or to align with the powers to be who don't look like us. And so I think that it is definitely a mindset that we've come a long way, but we still have a very, very long way to go.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
I think a lot of women have been programmed to believe that there's only room for one of us at a time. Like, I can only be the flavor of the week and you got to wait your turn. Sadly, what I've learned is the best way to overcome that is say, sis, I'm going to have a seat at the table, but I'm going to bring you with me. We're going to do this together. And I feel like we have a responsibility that when we bust open these doors to create equitable and diverse opportunities, we have to add the condition that it's me plus a friend. It's me plus one, or maybe even two. I can't be the only one, because what ends up happening is we become the sole representative for an entire group of people, and being Black is not a monolith by any means.
Absolutely.
So we have to find ways to bring others along so we're not carrying that sole responsibility.
Yes, I definitely agree. I mean, again, I think, and it goes back to what Emily said when we were talking about the last question, of sometimes you bring your own chair. There are not enough chairs for another Black sister. Girl, look, I'm gonna leave the door crack. Bring that folder and come sit next to me. Like, we gonna work this out together. But I think in answering that question, I can easily admit that I have found myself in situations where it's just like I got excited to see a Black woman in charge. Like, hey, then I'm like, oh hell, like, what I got myself into? Like, girlfriend, like I thought we was, and you find and have been told it's my turn. You gotta wait your turn. And you like, what? Like, can you give me some pointers? And it's just like, no one helped me. You got to figure it out on your own. And
Right,
you're just
right.
there like, oh, when does this stop? When do we start making room for the others in our company? And not just Black women, but just minority women, period. Like, I'm here, I've opened the door. Let me bring someone else in, because I'm not going to be here forever. And I think that's the part that they forget.
God blesses you to be a blessing to others. So he didn't bless me with a certain talent to just keep to myself. It's my responsibility to give back. So when you get to where you're going, you need to go back and get those people that you couldn't take with you along the way and say, hey, let me pay. I've paved the way. It's a little bit easier. When you think about the civil rights movement and Martin Luther King, and even when they did the boycott, and you and I have talked about this before, Dr. Carey, that there was a commonality, there was a common goal that they was trying to achieve. We don't do that. We often have that mentality, crabs in a bucket. I got here, you go back and get yours, and don't call me and ask me for nothing. Don't ask me no questions, because if you do, I'm going to charge you an astronomical amount of information that honestly I could go to the internet and get. But what is it going to hurt you to help me, particularly if you see that I'm really trying to get there? I'm not looking for a handout.
But that comes from a spirit of lack. It's an attitude of lack, that there's not enough at the table for everyone to go around.
Right.
That's because it goes back to slave days. You were given a certain amount and you were expected to spread it amongst everyone else. And if everybody didn't get their fair share, that was your fault. But we live in a world of abundance. This country is by no means poor. So we have to stop the attitude that, hey, I'm gonna go get mine. You got to find a way to get yours. There's more than enough for everybody. So I think even as people of color, we have to understand what real diversity means and what equity means if we're going to move this conversation forward and actually take others with us.
I definitely.
And supporting one another doesn't take anything away from the person who's doing the supporting or the pulling. And we have to understand that. Otherwise, this unspoken divide between Black women will continue.
I totally
There's a book called 48 Laws of Power, and one of the laws is never outperform the master. That's what I've learned when working directly for a sister. You cannot. Again, you're put in a situation where you got to play small in order to get what you need to succeed. Myself in my career, I've been developed by white women. White women took a chance on me and developed me when I worked directly for a Black woman and was so proud to see her leading a marketing department for this industry. She like made it my life a living nightmare, and she was very open and said, you thought I was going to make this easy for you? And to the point that I was jumping hurdles, and I've never been in a situation where I wanted to walk away from a job without a job, but I did, because it was too much to bear. And when you see, someone who looks like you are, like you said, Dr. Carey, you're excited, like, yes,
Right.
we're gonna do this. She's gonna teach me. She's gonna show me the ropes to get to this level, but that has not been the case in my story. It has not been the case.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Stacy, I think that this is a common story. Again, it's a thread that we don't talk about, that we stay silent about, and so the problem is never resolved because no one puts Sister Girl in check, and so she continues on this. I call it like she's power hungry,
Yeah.
and but then it also goes back to, what you said, Denisha, about the lack mindset. And I think that goes back to post-traumatic slavery disorder, that we are still carrying those traumas. They're generational traumas that are being handed down. And I know when I was in middle school, it was expected that I would go to a certain high school that no one hardly there looked like me, and I felt so out of place. And I still don't understand, because they didn't prepare me for college. Like, I probably was prepared for college from middle school. But when I got to college and I finally went to the HBCU, it was just like, oh my goodness, I found people that look like me. But then I found in some of those situations, it was just like, oh no, like, not I'm supposed to be able to breathe here. And so those are things that we have to use. Is I got mine, you get yours, or I didn't get mine easy. And we don't realize, like Emily said, that we do have to reach back. We do have to understand why we are here. And that it is that if you're given certain gifts and talents, it's not for you to hoard them, but to reach back and pull up other people and help them to understand how you got where you are, so that when you leave, and this is what I see happen, especially at HBCU, so don't y'all get mad at me, is that they don't prepare the next leader to take their place, because they will literally die at their desk. And no one has been trained to come in and be the next leader. And so then we're in all this chaos when there's a change of leadership, because they didn't pass the baton. There was no training. There was no sharing of gifts and talents. So I think as a race, that is something that we really need to work on. And especially as Black women, that we have to understand that there's enough to go around for everyone, and that we don't have to fight for the scraps. We don't have to, you see a sister trying to get in the boardroom and you slam the door shut and lock it. Like, we don't have to function like that, especially in 2020.
No.
So let me see. Anyone else had another comment? So let's see. We got some, basically they amen, y'all. So I'm in the comments. Someone said there's a certain emotional thing that is deeply rooted in the fact that white people tore our families apart purposefully so they could set us up against each other like crabs in a basket. And yeah, again, I think it does go back to slavery, but I also think as Blacks, we have to realize that, and we need to start correcting it.
Yes.
Like we can't continue. We know what the problem is, okay? And we don't wrote books about what the problem is. We've written papers. Now that we know what the problem is, how are we going to fix it?
Well, there's answers. We're just not willing to do the work because it costs us emotionally. I mean, don't get me wrong. Black women have been the savior of this country for forever. And we're still saving the country from itself. We show up at the polls. We take care of our sick families. We're stretching ourselves so thin. But I think we need to refocus and prioritize. If we're going to move this conversation forward, then we have to go ahead and just do the work. Let's stop talking about it. Let's do the work.
I agree. So, ladies, do you have any closing comments before we part?
I'm just thankful to be here. I appreciate the opportunity, Dr. Carey, Stacy, Emily, Dr. Tara. It's been a pleasure to have this conversation and have an audience giving such, useful feedback. And I know that this is going to touch and change lives.
I agree.
And I just want to say that when this coronavirus is over with, or the Chinese virus, or whatever the name of it is over with, I really, really want us to hit New Orleans and talk about our book and like physically meet each other and just really spend some time together. And I'm grateful to have met you all, and I'm hoping to build long-lasting relationships with you all. And I'm really, really hoping that our book will become a bestseller. And thank you again. I call her Dr. C. Thank you again. Kudos to you, Dr. C. You, as the old folks would say down south, you really put your foot in this one.
I just pulled it all together. You all did all of the work. So thank you. Dr. Tara, you were saying something?
Yes, I was just going to say, just in closing, as Black women, we must develop relationships to truly get to know one another, so that we can start to move forward and helping each other and turning around and lending a hand to bring the others along with us. United we stand, divided we fall. And until we come together, that's the only time that we're going to see change. Thank you all. Dr. Carey, this is amazing. I can just continue to give it back to you for your vision and for the opportunity. And thank you, ladies, for your participation as well.
Thank you. Stacy?
Yes, I just want to thank you for your vision and being a part of this great group of women. This has been so great. I just want to say to all Black women, we have a duty to learn all that we can learn and reach back to the younger generation that's coming behind us and develop them. Development is the key word. When we don't always need to be able to say we relied on another race to develop us for professional success. We should be doing that within our own community, within our own race, so that we can build each other up. And I hope that this book helped many of people who have felt like their voices have been silent and they can't speak for themselves, and as well as people to come to learn from what we've gone through so that they'll know how to navigate through it in the future. And Dr. C, I really appreciate this, and I appreciate all the hard work you've put into bringing this vision to life.
Well, thank you. And like I said, this has been a labor of love. This was not on my original plan for 2020. This was, and this threw me for a loop. But in light of everything that we've been through as a race and as a country in the last few months, it was just put on my heart that I thought now was the perfect time for us, especially as Black women, to have a voice. And to really use this opportunity when we had a captive audience, because we never know when we're going to get an audience like this again, where people are willing to listen and willing to meet us at least halfway so that we all can start doing the work to be better. So it is my goal, my hopes that anyone that's out there that's viewing tonight, or even if you're watching the replay, check out the website. And the website is scrolling down below. You can go and see who all the authors are. You can go and actually visit their websites and see some of the things that they're doing individually. And we ask that, that you support this effort and use the anthology as a tool to start those hard conversations in your space in corporate America. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And we'll be back next Thursday. I'll have a whole new group of women and we're going to talk about a whole new group of things. So you don't want to miss it. LinkedIn Live, 8 p.m. Thursday evening. So until then, visit the website and we hope that you all have a great evening.